There was just a huge update to the possibility of Fortnite Mobile returning to iOS, and here's everything you need to know about it. Now, today, Apple hosted their yearly WWDC conference, and what they do in this event is they basically showcase everything they've been working on over the last year, this being iPhones, iPads, Macs, MacBooks, Mac Pros, and more importantly, the new iOS that'll be coming out this year. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, Ducky, there's already been multiple events in the past, and they've had nothing to do with Fortnite returning to iOS, so why does this matter? Well, it matters for one big reason, and it's because in iOS 17, there is going to be a game-changing feature that will allow some users to download Fortnite onto their iOS phone without cloud gaming. As right now, the only way you can play Fortnite on your iOS device is through cloud gaming, either through Xbox, NVIDIA GeForce Now, or Amazon's Luna cloud gaming platform. None of them are really spectacular. Some are better than others, but none even compete with the native Fortnite installation on your device like we used to be able to use back in the day. Now, if you've been following my videos over the last few months of this developing topic, you'll know what I'm about to talk about, and it's sideloading. Sideloading is what's going to allow users in a few short months when iOS 17 releases in September to download and play Fortnite natively on their devices. Now, how sideloading works is pretty simple, and I'm actually going to be using Android as an example because Android has this feature. It's actually had sideloading for a really long time, but basically how you sideload an app on Android is instead of going to the Google Play Store to download whatever app you're looking for, typically you would go to a web browser like Google, and for this example, I'm going to be sideloading the Epic Games Store. So I go to Fortnite's website, a pop-up appears at the top of the screen saying that a new app is downloading, and then I open the app, I run the installer, it installs within a few short seconds, and then just like that, I have a third-party app store on my device that I didn't have to use the Google Play Store to download. And in a nutshell, that's what sideloading is. It's downloading apps or app stores outside of the native app store, and for iOS's case, this being the iOS App Store. Okay, so now that we know what sideloading is, how do I use it? Well, unfortunately, you're gonna have to wait a few months to use this new feature on iOS 17, as it's been confirmed that iOS 17 will be launching sometime in September. So we don't have the exact date at the moment, but it's been confirmed September, so at a bare minimum, we're gonna have to wait 3 months to download Fortnite onto our iOS devices. But there's a few catches and a few pieces of bad information that we received today from the conference. And so with all the good information out of the way, here's time for the bad. Now, it was rumored and then confirmed earlier this year that sideloading was going to be coming to iOS devices, but only because of one reason, and that's because of a law that the European Union passed a few years back, I believe in 2022, where they said basically, yo, Apple, you have to have sideloading on your devices by 2024, or we're going to be taking 20% of your annual revenue stream, which in Apple's case is tens of billions of dollars. So basically, the European Union passed a law and they said, yo, Apple, you gotta add it to your devices, and you're gonna have to do it by 2024. So that's good news, right? Yes and no. It's good because sideloading is going to be coming to iOS 17, but it's bad because it's only going to be coming in the European Union. If you don't know what that is, it's basically a big list of countries, and I'll put them all on screen right now. If you live in the European Union, you probably know, but if you're outside of the EU, well, then you probably also know as well. And so any person who lives in any of these countries on screen right now will be able to get sideloading with iOS 17. Anyone else? I'm sorry, you can't get it. That includes me. I live in the United States. We're obviously not a part of Europe or the European Union, and so I will not be getting sideloading when it comes to the update dropping later this year. However, there was one big holdout that everyone was waiting for, and that was the conference that happened today, because in this conference, they were going to be talking at length about iOS 17, and they did. And this on screen is everything they talked about during iOS 17's part of the presentation, all the new features, all the cool things coming. And if you notice, sideloading is not here. Apple neglected to mention sideloading at all in this entire conference and during the iOS part of the presentation, which is crazy because if you think about it, sideloading is arguably one of the biggest updates iOS has ever seen. I mean, this update on paper is pretty small, but the sideloading feature itself is massive because we've never seen it before and people have been begging for it for years. And so you're probably thinking to yourself, well, why didn't they talk about it? And it's because of one word: money. See, one of Apple's biggest ways of making money is through their App Store. And no, it's not because developers have to pay to have their app on the App Store. Instead, it's the revenue percentage they get for any money spent on their apps. See, for example, if you were to download your favorite game, let's say Clash of Clans, for instance, and you spend $10 on gems in game, you might think that Supercell, the developer of the game, gets all 10 of those dollars and Apple gets nothing. Well, that couldn't be further from the truth, because Apple, as you might know, gets 30% of all of the money spent inside of apps that are on their app store. So Apple gets 3 of the $10 that you just gave Supercell, and the developer of the game gets the other 7. Now, this is the entire reason Fortnite is no longer on the App Store, because Tim Sweeney, the CEO of Epic Games, he intentionally no longer wanted to pay that 30% revenue split that Apple makes all apps pay. And so he found a way around it, but it is against the terms of service, and that meant their app got taken off the App Store and it was never put back on. And how this relates to side loading is any apps that you side load, they can use their own payment processing system, which means they get to keep up to 100% of the revenue. So while this ends up being better for the users, Apple is going to end up losing millions or billions of dollars because of apps moving their apps off of the App Store and moving them only to being side loaded, because then they get to keep more money. You might even be able to pay less money for in-app purchases, and Apple gets $0 from these side loaded apps. So if you think about it, why would Apple announce a feature that's going to lose them money? Because on one hand, if they don't implement it, they have to pay a 20% tax every single year, which is tens of billions of dollars. Or if they announce it, then they're going to let more users, more developers know about this feature, and they're going to lose even more money. So although side loading was not in today's event, it's still going to be coming, but with a big catch, and it's that Apple doesn't want people to know about it. This doesn't mean it's going to be impossible to access, but I do imagine for anyone outside of the European Union, we won't be able to access it. I know it's pretty popular to use VPNs and to make other Apple ID accounts to use features that are typically region locked, but I truly believe, because of how much money Apple might be losing from this feature, that they're going to make it nearly impossible for anyone outside of the EU to get access to this feature on iOS 17. And the only way people like myself, people in the United States, North America, South America, Asia, Australia, any of these people who live outside of the EU, we're most likely going to have to wait for lawmakers in our countries to pass laws just like the EU did, where it requires Apple to give us the ability to sideload, because that's the only way they've done it. They've been making Apple products for like 15 years now, and the first time they added sideloading is this update, but it's only because lawmakers told them to. So basically, good news for EU people, you guys can still sideload apps. Unfortunately, at this moment in time, I don't know the specifics of how Fortnite is going to play into this, if it's going to be a Fortnite Epic Games Store that you download similar to Android, or how it's going to function, but it does look pretty confirmed that anyone outside of the EU will not be able to sideload apps, or the workaround is probably going to be so mind-numbingly crazy difficult that for the average user, it's going to be pretty impossible to install Fortnite. Now, this is all speculation, but knowing Apple, knowing how much they love money and how stingy they've been on this feature so far, I really do believe people like myself are going to have a very difficult, if not nearly impossible time installing Fortnite when iOS 17 does come out. However, there's still 3 months for things to change. There's a lot that can happen between now and when iOS 17 releases. And so I'm going to keep doing research on this. I'm going to keep you guys informed, because I know there's tons of people out there just like me who want to play Fortnite Mobile on iOS. And realistically, this is probably the best chance we're going to have for quite some time. So I hope you enjoyed the video. As always, if you did, a like would be greatly appreciated. And once again, make sure you're subbed so you don't miss out on any key information regarding Fortnite Mobile on iOS. But with all that being said, it's been Ducky the Gamer, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Deuces.